Hello, so I'm making this video for anybody who's interested and they're like, well, what is nature's the answer? You might even hear I'm outside right now recording this little podcast video that I want you, and you're probably somebody who maybe came across this, I want you to share this with your friends and family, because to me, I look at this as a human level. I take this to heart. And I think all matters should, right? Because we're dealing with the lives of individual beings. It's the same thing when, because I'm actually a health coach, it's the same thing when I'm dealing with their health and their body. In my clients, so to speak, is because I'm looking at their body. I'm saying, well, I'm helping them with their literal actual life, their literal actual health. So it means a lot to me. I see the same thing when it comes to politics. Now, I'll be honest with you, and maybe you can agree, most people do in the general public, is that, well, why should I want to get involved with politics? We feel like perhaps we have this moral obligation to take charge because of the way the world is going, but why do we want to do that, right? And so what I'm here to talk about is bringing politics back down to nature, right? You see politics, you have one side, another side fighting against each other, one person being hailed by that one side, another person being hailed by that one side. Now, some of the individuals perhaps look at the principles behind each person, or the principles, the actions, for that's what actually matters the most, many individuals claim, right? So maybe you agree with that. Maybe you agree because of the specific actions, the specific principles, because you don't know these people. They seem like distant strangers. So why should you trust them, right? And the truth is, we do put a lot of belief in these people. We don't necessarily know if they're going to do the things that we want them to do, for example, in the world. But I ask you, why is it that we look for them to do that for us? Why do we look for a very few people to change the world of many masses of people when we are actually the ones that often do all the change in the world? Is it required that some few individuals put everything into power for that to happen as a manifestation? Or is it that we want to give away our own self-responsibility to those few individuals? Okay, so taking this from a natural point of view is saying, well, is there really any natural essence to man's law if it's not natural law? Is there any essence to man's medicine if it's not natural medicine? So you may say, okay, well, man's medicine is useful at certain times, and it comes of use at certain times that you can't necessarily deny, right? And that is true, right? There is some scenarios where it's the case. But notice it's used a lot, right? It's like saying, well, the government is going into your life more and more by the day. And we realize there's an encroaching power that they're coming into your lives to do more. They're the middleman, right? Like the insurance companies, for example. When it comes to healthcare, or when it comes to, like I say, when it comes to drugs, you're introducing a drug in the middle as a belief mechanism for individuals to take it. So what is the point, necessarily, of having that third party? Does that third party actually help? Or does it actually help more to realize that we can self-heal, that we have a self-healing mechanism? Because that's often not talked about when it comes to man's medicine. They don't talk about how you have this natural medicine biochemistry naturally within you. And so the same applies for the world. There's a natural self-healing mechanism in place for the world, and it enforces itself. The right and wrong actions, it's simply cause and effect, the golden rule, the law of attraction, the moral law, karmic law, God's law. These are all the names for the natural law, which is technically the laws of nature, for which you may even say nature is a universal term across all religions, across all different politics. So we mentioned health, we mentioned law, and now I'm talking about religion. They all connect under these ideas of natural law and nature itself. It's not much harder to sum up what I'm talking about here than saying nature is the answer. And it becomes apparent to a lot of individuals, like, yes, we can self-heal our body. Yes, we have the self-healing mechanism. Yes, we can take control of our own health. We don't need to depend on other people. Yes, if we simply had the right tools and provided an environment where that would become even more suitable, then yes, we're more willing to do it, right? Because you might notice there's flaws within your own life. that you would like to achieve, but you feel like you can't because there's certain things not in place. That if they were in place, you would be more likely to do it. For example, exercise is a popular one. People say, I can't exercise because I don't have a buddy with me, or nobody else is exercising around me, or I don't have motivation to do so. I'm not trying to impress a girl, for example. Different motivations are going to prompt people to do certain things. Same thing goes with obligations, right? If you are taking a responsibility from somebody, they don't feel like they have to do it, so they're giving it to somebody else. Now that's perfectly fine if it's voluntary, but let's look in the case of taxes, for example, where if you don't pay taxes, you pay a price. And what if you don't support a war that requires that tax? What if you don't support what that tax is asking for? Right? Well, you have no choice but to comply. So even though it's against your beliefs, your natural rights, and the natural law, essentially, you have no choice but to comply by force and by violence, because if you don't comply, that's what they'll use, which is innately immoral according to the natural law. So perhaps you haven't looked into natural law before, but if you have, that's great. And if you haven't, that's okay too. The point is that we need to learn from nature. We're becoming detached from it, not just from technology, not just from not talking with others, or not just from being consumed on our phones, not just from being consumed by watching videos like this even, but this is rather here to provide a wake-up call, to say, well, we can take charge of the world around us, and it's as simple as creating conversation. That's all I ask for. I don't ask for you to go out and about and do crazy things. You don't have to. That's all up to you. Some people will go out more than others. Some will look into the natural law. Some won't. And I don't expect everybody to look into all my documentaries and everything that I've produced on the subject matter, but I do ask of people to understand and agree based upon one idea, and that is that nature is the answer. And the reason why that is because I believe it to be the most unifying. Yes, I believe it to be, but I also know it to be because of the natural law, because of natural medicine, and all the things that have been used for thousands and thousands of ancient years, and often under attack by the forces of government and agencies alike. So, if you simply agree with freedom, or love, or life, or humanity, or healing the world, you would agree likely with just the simple idea that nature is the answer. And there doesn't really, frankly, need to be a whole lot more of an explanation, because my simple intentions are as is. I don't need to write up a whole super long document or book format, even though I may, and I can, and I have. Okay? I'm just a human being sharing my thoughts with you. And if we share our thoughts with one another, we're not going to lose our thoughts, our very ability to think, our very ability to speak like this. Because I'm afraid that's what's under attack in the modern day. If we are becoming denatured, if we become farther from nature, for example, our minds are unable to think clear. We're constantly distracted. We're constantly being bombarded with mass information or propaganda on any side. And it distorts from who we really are as our raw, innate selves, our genetics, all that we be, all that we want to be. It starts to get swayed by different forces, and we start to lose sense of ourselves, and which is why we want to get mental health help, and which is why we don't have families anymore, which is why we don't talk to our neighbors anymore. These are all alarming signs, all of which you don't have to agree with them all. Like I said, you don't have to agree with anything that I personally say. Okay, but on a human-to-human level, I'm trying to seek the understanding with you, because only through understanding can we achieve unity. And only through unity can we achieve change. So, if you want to change the world around us, I ask you not to look to politicians and government to do so, and necessarily even voting to do so, because that's not where the real change is. The real change is with one another, you and I. And a lot of people don't want to take that self-responsibility, and I get it. The truth is also very hard to understand and very hard to face. But if we all come together and talk about it, at least create the conversation about these necessary things, and using our human nature to do so, by the way, we won't lose our human nature. We won't lose nature. Nature would be greater preserved in all degrees of respect, because we are more conscious of our actions, more conscious of who we are as conscious beings, by the way. That's what we innately are as human beings. So, if you want to realize the fact that you own yourself, that you have power, then use it. And you will see in return, as the law of attraction and the cause and effect works, that what you give out, you receive. Right? Do good unto others as you would want done unto you. And learning from our mistakes, trial and error, we get to meet many different individuals. We get to learn more about the world around us. We have more experiences. We start to see our destiny. We get creative. Make this of your own. Take Nature's the Answer on my website that kind of sums it all up, and it has nothing to do with me. The website is nita.one, where you may see there's a flag to represent our presence as we ourselves represent the truth. That's all it's there to do. It's neutral. It doesn't make any crazy statements or anything. It's dependent on conversation, you and I. That's all of us. All of us make up this quote-unquote movement, which is frankly to simply live our lives in peace and find the best lives for ourselves even, because let's face it, some people are facing hard times, and to those people who aren't having it the best, we want to help them. You know, the whole idea of this is that even if you do understand some aspects, you're willing to help others or find others and help them understand what you may understand. Don't be of ego. Be of understanding, because again, that's what's going to help unify everybody. So if you seek to understand me, or at least get to know more where I come from, of course, feel free to reach out to me, contact me, look at my other stuff. I encourage you to, but generally speaking, if you agree that nature is the answer, I encourage you to go check out my website. Go check out the information I have on disclaimers if you really want to get closer to my intentions. But like I said, it is quite simple at the end of the day. It's you and I talking with one another, everybody talking with one another, and simply through changing our minds, we change the world, because it's the very beliefs, like I mentioned, in different politicians or governments that actually rise them up in the first place. One person does not go to power themselves. They require the millions of people that back them. That's what's giving them the power. And they keep their power through oppression, through force, through violence in some degree. And we must understand the natural law being that it's also the founding stones, founding blocks of most nations that tried to fix the errors of the past. For example, like America. It was founded on principles of natural law. But the very biggest principle is that you do own yourself at the end of the day. And we lost those ideas and those principles. So while people may promote different aspects of quote-unquote America, if they don't promote what actually created that, then they won't keep it. So if you actually want to create something, be a part of it, and actually consent to its creation and realize that you are actually a part of it for once, unlike America, then you will join something that you can actually make for yourself. And I encourage you to make anything creative based upon it, because I want you to feel a sense of worth and value within it. So I encourage you to do that. I hope to make this as least invasive as possible, because frankly it is just talking with one another. And once we talk to everybody in the world and really get this conversation afloat, it's about simply understanding one another and continuing to get these ideas out there, because the knowledge is power, and the power is what's going to help give us the power if we all have the knowledge, right? So if we have the power, then guess who doesn't naturally? It's government. So like I said, this is heart to heart. I'm unscripted here. I'm just telling you like it is. And if you really want to not just increase your personal life gain, but really change this world, that's what's going to do it. It's grassroots change that's actually grassroots, literally in the grassroots, because it's in the foundations of nature and life itself, and it's universal and it's timeless, and it will be passed from generation to generation, where I may look at my child and I may say, hey, you know, the natural law is the law of the land. This is the knowledge for us all to learn. And also, with that being said, you own yourself, and nobody has a greater life than you, you know, to rule over you. They don't have that right to rule over you. You own yourself, and just having that simple knowledge passed down from generation to generation would teach many individuals. It's why this knowledge is often kept hidden from the masses, but that's regardless to say. Again, I ask you to think over my words and the simple intentions, the simple message that is as is. That's all that needs to frankly be said, because hopefully you can agree with that. I'm looking for agreement. I'm not looking for select few individuals or select few groups of people. I'm looking to unite all people, no matter who you are. And that means no matter where you stand, no matter what troubles you have in life, we all can help each other. That's what we're here to do as humanity. So thank you for listening to this, and please share if you feel like this can help anyone else. We must bring politics back down to nature, because this is a natural cause. This is a human cause. This is just history on repeat. And if we actually seek to change the world and actually seek to live in optimal conditions of the world, we must understand the world itself, nature. Nature is the answer to all the problems that we face. Thank you. This is Cory Endrulat. Nature's the answer. The website is nita.one. Nita.one. Thanks.